Welcome to the MindSea podcast series, Moving Digital Health. Our guest today is Dr. Adrienne Leussa, Director of Ecosystem Partnerships with 54Gene. Dr. Leussa is a biochemist with a PhD from Stellenbosch University, over 10 years of hands-on experience, and a wide range of technical skills within the area of drug discovery and development. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Leussa.
Thank you so much, Reuben. It's a pleasure to be on your platform. Thank you for the opportunity to graciously share your audience with me and just to give insights and perspectives from my end of the world. So thank you.
Well, we're happy to have you. Perhaps you could give us a brief overview of your background to get us started.
Yes, so I am a trained biochemist, mainly focusing on drug discovery and drug development. However, currently I have sort of shifted my career path from a purely academic and research focus to business development focus. So the story behind it is that growing up, I always had a leaning towards business, towards sales. And initially, the way I wanted to combine my passion for science and also my incline for business was to become a pharmacist. However, that didn't happen because at the time, graduating from high school, we didn't have any pharmacy schools available in Cameroon at the time. You wouldn't believe it. We were in 2000s. But now, luckily, things have changed, but that didn't come soon enough for me. So I decided to pursue biochemistry, focusing still on drug discovery, drug development, with the hopes that one day I would eventually join a pharmaceutical company in some form. However, that will be possible. That dream took me all the way to a PhD in biochemistry, several postdocs in biochemistry still. I even went on to lecture biochemistry at a medical school in Mozambique for 2 years. And then eventually I thought maybe I wouldn't go into pharmaceutical industry as a researcher, but rather maybe from a business standpoint with all my accumulated skills and even my passion still for the business world, I could still make some form of contribution, even if it's at an arm's length. So I took up a job in sales as a sales professional, and mainly focusing on biotechnology, distribution of biotechnology consumables and equipment for global manufacturers within the African continent. And as fortune will have it, I crossed paths with 54Gene as a client first, and then now working in the business development team, where I work on managing partnerships with academic institutions across the continent. So as it turns out, my journey in academia, the very long one, serves the purpose because those are the people I cater to form meaningful partnerships. And of course, 54Gene is in itself working on building a pharmaceutical manufacturing platform. So yeah, I think everything has sort of met at a really good crossroad at this point.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you understood that you wanted to combine those two passions right from the beginning. And although the journey was not linear, that's where you are today.
Yes. They say follow your heart. So it took me a while, but somehow and mainly because I had so many interests. And I think that's where it usually complicates, because if you are very focused and linear, it's usually very easy to find your path. But when you have so many interests, it's usually a little bit more tricky to figure it out.
Yeah, actually, it's been a bit of a winding road for me as well. Early on, I was really into art, and as a child, I was always drawing, and that kind of led me into graphic design and marketing, and then to user experience design, which led me to working on apps and app development. But I really never could have predicted getting involved in the business side of things. So,
Oh, wow.
but that is where the path took me. I'm curious about 54 genes. So that's specifically focusing on increasing inclusive data, gathering and aiding the development of medical treatments that serve the entire global community. Could you tell us a bit more about the connection between that data that's being gathered and improved treatment?
Yes, so obviously, you being in the digital health space, you'll understand more so than maybe I do the details. But by tracking patient data and collecting continuously, we are able to have insights that are fueled by this data, and these insights are enabling people to, get well faster, and also are helping even to pursue new lines of research wherein we are using data to ask new questions around maybe finding more cost-effective ways to deliver quality results, or even using this data to, personalize the care of patients. So looking at individual data to really deliver care that is unique or more specific to the specific individual, to the individual. Now, the improved access or this data is facilitating what we now call precision medicine, which is an emerging area in healthcare. However, our company is a health technology platform company, and we are looking at, the particular area of precision medicine that concerns itself with gathering of genomics data. The reason for this is because it is the variation in genetic data, or the genetic variation that researchers often use to enable the identification of drug discovery targets. So within our genes, there are specific targets, or within our genome, there are specific genes that could be targeted in drug discovery efforts. Now, this whole research is really bringing about incredible personalized therapeutics. Unfortunately, only about 2% of this research includes, or let's say, of the research in genetics, or the genetic research, only about 2% of that comes from people of African descent. And it's rather unfortunate, because when it comes to genetic diversity, there's no other continent that is more diverse genetically than the African continent, for evolutionary reasons. And so it goes without saying that investing time in generating data and including genetic data from the African continent would richly benefit efforts in personalized precision medicine. And this not only for Africans, but even for the global community, because certain genetic variations are very rare in other populations, whereas within the African context, with our diversity, there could be more occurrence of these variations, and with that, it will facilitate drug discovery efforts. So, yeah, in essence, 54 Gene is trying to build diverse data sets in order to unlock these discoveries. And it's not only going to benefit new treatments, but also enable diagnostics for diseases. Yeah.
It's really fascinating what 54 Gene is doing. I'm curious about how the data is collected. So, what are the motivations of the individuals to share their genetic data?
Yes, for the motivation, it's like I mentioned earlier. So we are busy also with awareness and education efforts with various partners to enable people to understand what first of all is genetics variation, and to understand the diversity within the African population. And so a lot of people in Africa don't have access to quality diagnostics in terms of, say, molecular or for genetic disorders, and also access to treatment. So even when treatment is available, it takes a long time, 10 to 20 years from discovery to people in Africa to have access to these drugs. So the idea is, with us being localized on the African continent and working directly with African patients and clinicians and researchers, we are making sure that their samples collected and voluntarily donated for this research would accelerate the process for us to discover diagnostics and even treatments that are more relevant to people of African descent. Because obviously, with less than 2% of our data contributing currently to genetic research studies, there are chances that a lot of these drugs, even when eventually they get to people of African descent, their efficiency is very much compromised because they were not included in the original research. And so there might be a mismatch, or even it could accelerate things like adverse drug reactions, which would not have been predicted because they were not involved in the clinical trial processes where these things could have been picked up. So we're educating the people, the population, to understand, the long and even the more short, medium term benefits of having our data included in the databases and data sets for drug discovery and drug target discovery. Yeah.
Okay, so essentially, patients are donating their genetic data, for the greater good, for research, just like someone would, donate blood, and that sort of thing, in order to help others and help the population.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. And then I imagine this must create some very interesting challenges with the actual production of the drugs. If you are looking at smaller populations, because of all that diversity, you might find a therapeutic that is really effective for a unique population, but then to manufacture it sometimes requires a certain scale. Is that a challenge that you've run into at this point?
So, just to mention that we at this point are also working together with global pharmaceutical companies to unlock, these scientific discoveries. So we are not working in isolation or in silos. We are collaborative and collaborating with global pharmaceutical companies. So we are joining efforts to make sure that our access to the data sets is eventually pulled into, the programs that already are very much refined and combined and been tested for this sort of work. Yeah.
Interesting. So looking at the overall acceleration in digital health, from your perspective, how can the advancements in digital health benefit the drug development process?
Yes, so obviously, digital health technologies are currently increasing in their access and in their availability and popularity even, be it with patients, with the general population, with clinicians, with researchers. And also, alongside that development, we are also seeing that there's a fast advance in biomedical technologies that is producing a big pipeline of drug or potential drugs and leads. Nevertheless, there is a bottleneck of getting those drug leads from those pipelines to the patients. And some of the gaps that occur in the drug development life cycle can very much be helped or be accelerated with digital health technologies. We're talking about things like gaps in data collection. So usually you would have the traditional way. You would recruit patients and you have to follow them up and have them come to the clinics or wherever the trial sites are to monitor things. But now with digital health technologies, people can be monitored remotely and continuously. This data can be collected. We also have things like a lack of objective gold standard measurements in drug development, wherein, with digital health technologies, there's a possibility to provide surrogate endpoints that will state efficacy of treatments. And traditionally also there's a lack of patient centricity in drug development programs. With digital health technologies, there is the ability to engage participants in studies more and get them or improve their adherence and retain them longer in programs. And also, we are able to use digital health technologies to broaden access and increase even representation in clinical research. So, for example, traditionally, you would have to, go to very remote sites if you want certain particular participants. But now you are able to have them, if you're monitoring them remotely and, taking away some bottlenecks in having them come for follow-ups, remotely monitoring them and having less invasive technologies at their disposal would allow them to comply more and be retained on these studies, and even have more people and diversity in the clinical research. And also, just doing these clinical trials, there's a possibility even of making them virtual trials, decentralizing them, and this can bring down cost and also allow for potential therapies to have a faster track to marketing authorization. So these are some of the challenges that occur in a typical drug development life cycle that can definitely benefit from digital health technologies. And also with artificial intelligence now available, we can potentially even reduce the amount of time required to develop a drug molecule because of the speed of analysis, the scope of analysis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested, were you working across the continent of Africa, different countries, urban versus rural areas? What are some of the barriers, specifically in Africa, that make that data collection and coordination difficult?
Yeah. So currently, we are seeing growth in access, right, to digital technologies, but it is, like you mentioned, it's not yet a universal access. So there are still remote areas where people don't have cell phones, don't have internet available. And so those are some of the limitations. Internet being universally available for the operating of some of the devices, and even in a way, even integrating these data with the health systems that are already available, because there's that need. There's a need to integrate the data types with what is already available. And there's also a challenge in getting buy-in from clinical providers to accept or integrate these digital technologies, digital health technologies within their health systems. And another issue is where even these are available and all the conditions are met to enable uptake. The cost of it is still a burden. Obviously, there is still hesitancy, or the medical schemes are still hesitant on providing reimbursement, even when people are able to have access to these technologies. So these are some of the things. It's access to the internet for enabling its compliance and buy-in from stakeholders, and the costs. These are some of the challenges. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very similar to the challenges we see in Canada as well, where we're a large country with a very spread out population. Internet access for rural and less populated areas is still a real challenge to give that equality of access to virtual care or remote monitoring. And even different, regulations between provinces around the personal health data and exchange of information. I think these are very similar themes that we see across continents, I guess.
Yes. Sounds like it is.
So 54Gene is relatively new. It was founded in 2019. Could you tell us about a notable development 54Gene has experienced and how you've been able to make a difference so far?
Yes, so you're right. We were founded in 2019. That means we are only about three years old. But you would be surprised that it is 54Gene is one of the few startups in the sector and even in Africa to have moved from a seed stage to a Series B stage in less than 2 years. So we've been able to raise more than $45 million since our inception. And we've been able to set up a state-of-the-art genetics or genomics lab in the continent, one of the first of a private nature. So the others of similar caliber are within public institutions of higher learning. So this is one of the unique private labs, and this was done in partnership with the US-based biotech company Illumina. And the lab is able to provide, genotyping capabilities. It's able to provide whole genome sequencing and whole exome sequencing for human samples, which is quite remarkable. And we also have a biobank that is able now in 2021 to cater to about 300,000 samples. And it has all the facilities that you would need to monitor and really keep up with all the data and the information managing systems, and automation is also very much integrated in it. And so those are some of the infrastructural developments that have happened. We have also a chip, our proprietary genomics infrastructure and insights ecosystem platform, abbreviated Genesis, that contains highly curated genetic, clinical, and phenotypic data, which we generate insights that lead to new treatments and diagnostics. So this was an effort that was done by our genomics and data science team to come up with this platform, and it's very much representative of the African, and when I say African, that's a big umbrella of diverse people genome. And also, we have recently launched our diagnostics subsidiary called Seven River Labs. So this is our diagnostic hub that is fitted with state-of-the-art technology to offer healthcare providers and patients access to world-class and cost-effective advanced molecular diagnostics. So on the area where we've been able to make a difference, we've been able to partner with companies and even organizations and countries, such as the Tanzania Human Genetics Organization, in which we are looking to build genomic databases for countrywide populations. We were able to also partner with Senegal's National Academy of Sciences and Technology to launch a landmark program. This was in May 2022, a landmark program called the Sen Genome Genetics Research Study, and that will allow us to establish a full genomic database of the Senegalese population. We are able to also contribute by, we've just published our first phase of the landmark Nigerian 100,000 Genomes Project, which is our project that was done in a consortium for non-communicable diseases. And it was published in Nature Genetics Journal. And this is therefore going to promote a genomic revolution in Africa, as we have set to do. And last but not least, we have other efforts like setting up a trust where we are committed to invest up to 5% of future proceeds from our commercial drug discovery program to enable better diagnostics and medicine access to Africans, and also amplify capacity building within the scientific research spaces across the continent. So these are just some of the things that we've been able to achieve, and you can tell that it doesn't sound like we've been around for only 3 years. Sounds like we've been around for much longer.
Yes, that is certainly a lot in a short period of time. And it's very impressive what you've been able to accomplish. I'm curious to what extent AI is used in pulling insights out of the genetic data.
Yes, so we have a team that is working on using machine learning to analyze the data. So obviously, precision medicine is, it relies on big data analysis. It involves combining different types of information from electronic healthcare records, genomic and pharmaceutical data, a lot of data. So we cannot but leverage machine learning, leverage AI to be able to analyze this data and make meaningful or get meaningful insights that will help in our drug discovery efforts. So definitely we're integrating artificial intelligence in our data analysis.
Excellent. Just to switch gears a little bit, I know you have your own podcast called Africa Biotech Conversations. Maybe you could tell us a bit about some of the conversations that you've had there and experiences on your own podcast.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that. So I started the podcast because while I was working in the sales position, I got to interact with a lot of people using biotechnology in several industries to better, outcomes. But one of the things that also was, imminent to me or evident to me was the growing trend of not only being of Africans, not only serving as a distribution hub for global companies, but people actually taking initiatives and, coming up with innovations, be it from universities, and taking that up to develop products that could be commercialized. And I thought no one is really showcasing this. And with my own personal interest in podcasts, I didn't see any podcast that was specifically speaking to biotech entrepreneurs and what they were trying to do. And it's a unique space because it's a risky space. Africa is not typically recognized for biotech innovations. So there's all of that without precedence of a road mapped out. There's, I'm sure, a lot of uncertainty even with the biotech entrepreneurs themselves, apart from the innate risk of the industry in itself. So I thought it would be great to have a platform where we could talk to the people that are doing entrepreneurship in the biotech space in Africa, but also pull together an ecosystem of enablers, be it accelerators, be it open source labs, and investors even, where we could talk about how best to contribute and support the biotech entrepreneurs in Africa. And so for me, it has been a real pleasure to even see that there are lots more than I thought there were. So that I'm finding every other day a new startup around making use of biotech. Just the last episode I did, it was a company that started up in the University of Cape Town, where they are making use of proteomics technology to monitor health of abalones and aquacultures. So they are actually taking biotechnology into the aquaculture industry for health management of marine culturing, because aquaculture is an industry that is also on the rise due to sustainability concerns, climate change. So aquaculture is also on the rise, and these researchers have found a way to integrate biotechnology within that industry. And we see that also in other industries where biotechnology could really serve. And it's just really very inspiring for me to see that there's this option, because growing up, maybe if I had known that there was this industry that was on the continent, because one of the other things is I'm very passionate about Africa and being in Africa. And so it was one of the challenges growing up for me was, how do I stay, within the industry that I love, within the sector, so not necessarily academic, being an academic, but being in the business sector, being in a highly technological space or industry like biotechnology, and doing impactful work. So it's kind of threefold. And at the time, there weren't a lot of those companies. So now it's great to see that people can consider this as a meaningful way to have a life career trajectory. So for me, showcasing that is really a pleasure, and seeing that there are lots more out there, and even inspiring those who are in schools studying biotechnology to have role models and just see that there are options beyond what they thought they were. So those are some of the learnings for me, and some of the pleasures of doing the podcast.
Mm-hmm. I love that you didn't hear the stories that you were interested out there and that no one was telling them. So you decided to go there, find them, and share those stories on your own podcast. And in turn, then, inspiring others by making them aware of all the amazing innovation that's happening and the people that's driving it. I've had
Yes.
very similar experiences on my own podcast, and personally just find it really, really gratifying to meet all these amazing people and get the opportunity to talk with them and hear about their stories. And I'm always amazed with the innovation and the inspiration that comes out of those stories. So, and certainly, again, thank you for sharing your story with us. Looking forward a little bit, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on, what still needs to be achieved in the digital health space, and perhaps specifically to Africa and your lens through 54 Gene as well.
Yes, I believe we sort of highlighted that there's still a gap in terms of access, and I think why it is important is speaking specifically to precision medicine. So precision medicine has the capacity now to provide drugs that will be able to treat people more efficiently, treat them at a lower cost even, and even treat for diseases that previously might not have had a treatment or even a diagnostic. And so we are working to make that available. However, it would rely on, gathering the data. Among other things, we need, like I said, we need phenotypic data, we need genomics data, pharmaceutical data, but we would need dependable data. So in Africa, that is still a scarcity, having dependable data. And I think it's maybe because it has not yet registered with the powers that be, or it has not yet registered the potential that big data has. In my opinion, and in the opinions of most people within the sector, big data may just be the catalyst that is needed for to help Africa to leapfrog traditional healthcare systems, and as a result, improve access to care for millions of people. So there's a lot of people that are not getting, quality health care because of, being remote, issues of infrastructure. But with digital health, and if it is enabled to foster as it should, this might just be a way for us to leapfrog those traditional constraints and offer these people better quality lives. So my hope is that, even though we have seen that with the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a fast track in development and financing of tech-enabled tools in healthcare. We still need people who are intentional on understanding deeply the African market and the context. So now, speaking to the innovators, it is necessary for them to understand, come to the ground and understand the context, and then be able to develop solutions and innovations that are simple, as simple as possible because of the challenges that we have, but also work in collaboration with governments, in collaboration with clinicians and researchers, so that these solutions are actually sustainable and they are client-centered. I think it is the importance of digital health cannot be overemphasized. I think it's more about now the implementation. And looking at it from an African lens, it is about working to meet the context, and looking at it from a precision medicine lens. We rely on that data. We rely on the quality of the data in order to deliver on our promise, to have African genome and Africans included in genetic health research, and fostering or enabling precision medicine equity, or equalizing precision medicine, as we like to put it. It will depend on that data. So it comes from the foundation, and then it will build up to enable us as 54 Gene to achieve our mission.
I think those of us that work in digital health can easily see the potential of how much better things can be, whether it's improving access to care, quality of care, and treating those rare undiscovered diseases. I just hope that the momentum continues, as you said, that has kind of been spurred, and that the investment continues, and that we keep moving forward. And I think with so many amazing and brilliant people working on it, hopefully that potential is not too far in the future.
Agreed.
So we've talked quite a bit about 54 Gene and everything that's happening there. Personally, you yourself have also accomplished a lot just in the last year. I know running a 21 kilometer race, taking boxing lessons, mentoring students across Africa, and publishing a scientific article. And that's that's the short list. That's not everything. So I'm wondering, for you personally, what are your goals? What do you hope to achieve in the near future?
Oh wow. Yeah, it has been a very busy year personally, but it has been very fulfilling. And for me, all of these things are ways of me building up myself, my skills, my capabilities, my networks, so that ultimately I am in the best position possible to help contribute towards making Africa an equal player in providing healthcare solutions to Africans and to the world globally. So, on a personal note, on that trajectory, I am currently working. I'm studying an MBA in digital. It's actually a digital focused MBA at the University of Johannesburg. It's I think it's one of the first, or the only one currently in Africa, a school that is offering an MBA focused on digital, digital industry, digital technologies, remote working, everything that digital has brought as change into the world. I'm really excited about that. And I'm also preparing currently for a race, a bike race, the 94.7 kilometer race. It's one of the challenges I'm looking forward to close off the year in November. And yeah, those are some of the two major things that are really exciting in the near future. But across board, I'm working together with 54 Gene. We're working on some exciting projects. We are looking into exciting partnerships, both on the continent and out of the continent, to continue our mission towards equalizing precision medicine. Yeah.
Well, your accomplishments are inspiring, and I'm definitely going to add more mentorship to my goals for this year as well. And
Awesome.
thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to meet you and learn about everything that you've been working on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you, Reuben. Very insightful questions, and it was really great uncovering what is possible with digital health technologies and also in especially the health sector for precision medicine. So thank you for the opportunity.
And thanks to everyone who joined us today and listened in on Moving Digital Health. If you enjoyed this conversation, please go to mindsea.com/blog to subscribe to the MindSea blog and be notified about future episodes.